granted a bond this morning and you are not familiar with procedures, there's a few things you're gonna need. You have been arrested on warrants taken by Officer Jones of the Floyd County Police Department for incidents that occurred between February 2005 and April of 2015, charging currency transaction fraud, theft by taking, and racketeering. On the currency transaction fraud, did commit that offense when knowing that the monies involved in currency transactions represented the proceeds of some form of unlawful activity, did conduct or attempt to conduct such transactions which in fact involved the proceeds of specified unlawful activity, while knowing that the transactions were designed in whole or in part to conceal or disguise the nature, location, source, ownership, and control of the proceeds, or specific unlawful activity, to wit, theft of money, property of the Floyd County Board of Education. On the theft charge, did commit that offense when, while acting as a government employee for the Floyd County Board of Education and employed as a maintenance director, did unlawfully take or cause to be appropriated by others U.S. currency in excess of $4 million. On the racketeering charge, did commit that offense of racketeering through a pattern of racketeering activity or proceeds derived thereof, did acquire directly and indirectly interest in and control of money that the accused did engage in at least 2 acts of racketeering activity by acquiring money, property of the Floyd County Board of Education through fraud and theft.
Judge, will you hear from me at all as to bond?
I will.
I wanted to point out to the court 3 things. The first is that this case has been going on for 14 months. Derry Richardson has known about the investigation for 14 months. We have been working with Lee Patterson and Jeff Jones. We've made statements with them. We have also been negotiating with them in a civil case as to forfeiture and have already agreed to more than $500,000 of forfeiture between property and cash. We're still in negotiations as to the rest of the property. That's the subject of that matter.
Right.
So I'd ask that you take all of that into account and set a reasonable bond for Derry.
Well, I have taken all that into account, and it was my understanding at first that the district attorney was possibly requesting cash bond amount and the amount of the thefts on these, which to me seemed, but we have to look at the situation and the level of the alleged thefts on these, of what's been discovered. We don't know what's still out there. I have a situation where I think a substantial bond is appropriate, just for the fact that this case is coming to a point where there could be situations of a person wishing to leave. So, and it's my understanding through the warrants filed that your client is possibly the main focus of this investigation. So, I'll take that into consideration. I'm going to set a bond that's consistent with the other bonds on this situation, $150,000 to cover all charges, with the conditions that I did explain earlier as far as those charges. The accused did commit the offense of theft by taking when he unlawfully took U.S. currency and or merchandise exceeding $145,000. Mr. Anderson, I'll grant bond, a blanket bond to cover both of these charges at $75,000. It will carry the conditions on that bond.
That's correct, right?
All right. All right, I'll set bond to cover both of these charges at $25,000. It will carry the same conditions that I explained earlier as far as contacting any employee or any property of the Floyd County Board of Education. Officer Jones of the Floyd County Police Department for incidents that occurred between September of 2011 and April of 2015. 1 count of racketeering, 1 count of theft by taking. On the theft charge, the accused did commit the offense of theft by taking when he unlawfully took U.S. currency or merchandise exceeding $250,000. Set bond to cover both of these charges at $100,000. And on the theft charge, did commit that offense when received, disposed of, retained, or was in control of U.S. currency exceeding $800,000, the property of the Floyd County Board of Education that he knew or should have known was stolen. Mr. Richardson, I'll set bond to cover all charges at $150,000 with the conditions that I did explain earlier. Theft charge did commit that offense when received, disposed of, retained, was constructively in control of U.S. currency exceeding $600,000, the property of the Floyd County Board of Education that she knew or should have known was stolen, and the accused used the stolen proceeds to personally conduct more than $32,000 in purchases. The racketeering charge did commit that offense when, through a pattern of racketeering activity or proceeds derived thereof, did acquire directly, indirectly, an interest in and control of money, to which the accused did engage in at least 2 acts of racketeering activity by acquiring money, property of the Floyd County Board of Education through fraud and theft. I had already taken into consideration the lesser amount on this, plus the fact that the same household is basically going to have to post 2 bonds on this. Any signature or OR bond would have to be done through the sheriff, of course, but I will set a lesser bond amount on the charges, $50,000. All right, Mr. Richardson, you've also been charged by Officer Jones of the Floyd County Police Department for incidents that occurred between July of 2007 and April of 2015. On the theft by receiving charge, did commit that offense when received, disposed of, retained, or was in control of U.S. currency exceeding $240,000, the property of the Floyd County Board of Education that he knew or should have known was stolen. All right, Mr. Richardson, I'll set bond to cover all charges at $100,000. Racketeering. On the theft charge, the accused did commit that offense when unlawfully took U.S. currency and merchandise exceeding $200,000, the property of the Floyd County Board of Education. Mr. Tucker, I'll set bond to cover all these charges at $100,000 with conditions. All right, you have charges filed by Officer Jones of the Floyd County Police Department for incidents that occurred between October 2009 and April 2015, charging theft by taking and racketeering and currency transaction fraud. On the theft charge, the accused, while acting as a government employee, did commit the offense of theft by taking when he unlawfully took U.S. currency or merchandise exceeding $468,000, the property of the Floyd County Board of Education. I'll set bond to cover all of these charges at $150,000 with the on the theft charge, did commit that offense when, as a government employee, did commit the offense of theft by taking when he unlawfully took U.S. currency or merchandise exceeding $40,000, the property of the Floyd County Board of Education. I'll set bond to cover all of these charges at $75,000. Any questions?